India is currently considered one of the world's largest and fastest growing economies. It holds a prominent position in the global economy and has a significant impact on global trade and investment. But India, as we know from the independence, was not like this. Because during the early years of independence, India faced various challenges such as poverty, low industrialization, and an agrarian based economy was the economy of India. An agrarian based economy is one in which most of the economic activities and livelihoods are centered around agriculture. In such an economy, agriculture plays a dominant role in terms of employment, production, and contribution to the national economy. So the question is, how did India reach this milestone? In the following years after its independence, India followed its first economic model, often referred to as the Nehruvian model, which was implemented from 1950s to the 1980s. It focused on industrialization and reducing poverty, also promoting social welfare. It involved a mix of public and private sectors, with the government playing a central role in planning and development. This economic model had a strong focus on inward oriented policies. The country followed a strategy of import substitution industrialization, which is also known as ISI, which aimed to promote domestic industries and reduce dependence on imports. Under this ISI approach, the focus was on achieving self sufficiency and reducing reliance on foreign countries for essential goods. This approach involved high traffics and import restrictions to protect domestic industries from foreign competition. But little and slow progression was seen. Then, after some time, an economist named Prashanta Chandra Mahalanobis proposed his development strategy within the Nehruvian model. His approach was focused on achieving rapid industrialization through a balanced growth. Mahalanobis emphasized on quantitative planning methods and balanced growth influenced the formulation of India's 5-year plan and guided the allocation of resources to different sectors based on statistical planning methods, especially in key industries and infrastructure development. This strategy boosted the Nehruvian model. But interestingly, the idea of 5-year plan originated originally from the Soviet Union, where they were implemented as a mechanism for centralized economic planning. Probably Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis had interaction with a Soviet economist and under the influence of the Soviet Union's economic model proposed it. Because during the Nehruvian era, India received technical and economical assistance from the Soviet Union, and there were exchanges of ideas and expertise between the two countries. However, while there are influences and similarities, India's economic model under the Nehruvian era and the economic model under the Soviet Union was distinct in their principles, objectives, and the way it was implemented. The development approach advocated by Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis was primarily implemented during the India's second 5-year plan, which spanned from 1956 to 1961. The Mahalanobis model had a significant impact during the second 5-year plan. Its influence continued beyond that time frame because elements of the model, such as the emphasis on industrialization and planning methods, proved to be very effective, and the Nehruvian model remained the dominant economic framework in India for several decades after its independence until the post Cold War. But the emphasis on the import substitution and protectionism meant that India's trade relation with other countries were relatively limited. The country had trade barriers in place, making it difficult for foreign goods to enter the Indian market. Because the primary objective of Nehruvian model was to stimulate domestic production and natural indigenous industries. Then in the early 1990s, India faced a severe balance of payment crisis. Foreign exchange reserves were depleting rapidly and the country was unable to meet its international payment obligation. This crisis exposed the limitation of India's import substitution industrialization ISI model. Now, India was compelled to reconsider its economic model and policies, and there are many factors to support this compulsion of India to re-evaluate its economic model and trade policies. Apparently, Soviet Union suffered economic crisis during the Cold War, And experts believe that economic crisis was also one of the main reasons of the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, here is the thing. India, being a close ally and a trade partner, had already known the economic crisis of the Soviet Union, and the economic landscape was changing drastically. This changing economic landscape in the Soviet Union influenced India's approach to its own economic reforms and policies. India also realized the importance of having global trade relations, which also resulted in the establishment of the Look East policy under the leadership of Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao in the early 1990s. Also, the Soviet Union's economic policy during the Cold War can be characterized as a planned state control system with limited private ownership and focus on industrialization and centralized decision making, which is very similar to the Nehruvian model. So India quickly realized that Soviet Union's economic model was not very productive as it was with India's own. Then in 1991, India adopted new economic policy, which is also known as the economic reforms of 1991. This economic policy became the key for achieving new heights for India. The new economic policy emphasized on liberalization, privatization, and globalization, focusing to open the Indian economy, reducing government control, and embracing more market-oriented policies. This new economic policy marked a significant shift in India's economic approach, moving away from the planned and state-centric model of the past. It unleashed the potential of the private sector. It promoted competition, attracted foreign investment, and integrated India into the global economy. Currently, India follows a more market oriented economic framework, which is a mix of public and private enterprise. The government has implemented various economic policies to promote investment, entrepreneurship, and ease of doing businesses. These policies aim to foster sustainable economic growth, attract foreign direct investment, and address developmental challenges. Over the decades, Indian economy has witnessed significant growth and has consistently ranked among the top economies globally in terms of GDP. Now, India has already realized the importance of East Asian countries at the time of the post-Cold War and how it would play a crucial role in positioning India as a key player in the Asia Pacific region and also leveraging the economic opportunities offered by these dynamic East Asian economies, which is why the Look East policy was initiated by the Indian government of that time under the leadership of Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao in the early 1990s, and then which later was relaunched as the Act East policy by the then Indian government under the leadership of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014. This Act East policy seeks to further deepen India's engagement with the Asia Pacific region with a specific focus on Southeast Asia and takes a more comprehensive approach by encompassing economic, strategic, and cultural aspects. The Act East policy also gives special attention to Northeast India as a gateway for connecting with Southeast Asia. In comparison, the Look East policy and the Act East policies are different in terms of their scope and objectives. Now, what has this Northeast region to do with this Act East policy? You see, foreign investors see potential in Northeast India, especially because of its strategic location, and they see many market opportunities. And they believe that investing in this region can bring them profits and open doors to larger markets in Southeast Asia. Overall, the Indian policy with the East is aimed at demonstrating its presence, also projecting its interest and leveraging the economic and strategic opportunities offered by the region. It seeks to position India as a relevant and influential actor in the Asia Pacific region while fostering closer ties with East Asian nations. If you find this video informative, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.